Hey everyone, how y'all doing? I'm probably gonna regret uploading this video because a lot of the times when I make tier lists or 3 by 3s, I eventually just end up regretting it because I realize, oh wait, after after watching or playing this for a second time, I realize actually I would probably put it in this order, or maybe I wouldn't even put this character. Yada yada yada. With that said, with the Ultimate Ninja games, for the most part, I don't think my opinions have really changed too much over the years. Like, I've had my time to revisit a lot of these games, and for the most part, my opinions tend to be kind of the same. So I'm gonna share my own official tier list. So I'm fairly certain these are all of the ones. I have not played all of them, but to be fair, I think the only one that I haven't actually played is Heroes 3, which we'll get into this in a minute. But let's start off. And actually, also, I like the order. I think it's good, and also includes Storm Connections, which is good. I don't know how old this tier list is, but I assume you can modify regardless of how old it is. But anyway, so let's start with Ultimate Ninja 1. So Ultimate Ninja 1, for the most part, I'm gonna put it at. So here's the thing: if I were to rank this solely based on the legacy that this game had, I would probably put it some maybe even C, but in general, I'm just gonna put it D tier because to be honest with you, the first Ultimate Ninja hasn't particularly aged super well. In general, it's like in general this probably has among the least interesting story modes because in general you're just kind of getting like fragmented storylines between different characters where they tell the story of um part one, but only like maybe even less than half of part one, and like they tell it in the classic over glorified arcade mode where it's just characters having minor interactions with each other that somewhat resemble the dialogue that was in the anime, and then you just get a CPU match where maybe some stats might be buffed, but just in general it's not a particularly memorable story mode. And the combat it's very early days. In general, there's some clunkiness in this game that, to be fair, technically speaking, also kind of exists with all the other Ultimate Ninja games, where especially with a lot of normals. So in this game, so something really cool that Ultimate Ninja has that the Storm games don't have is that with Storm, you can usually input like somewhere between 3 to 4 normal attacks or light attacks until you can either go with a neutral, a side, a down, or an up combo by tilting the analog. And with Ultimate Ninja, there's tech like that, very similar, where it's like around 3 normal attacks before you can either go with a forward, because it's a 2D party fighter game. So you can either go forward, up, and down, and you can do that. But you can also just in general start the combo with either holding the left, right, up, and down for the most part. I think it's all 4 inputs, if I'm not mistaken. I know with Ultimate Ninja 2, it's 4 inputs, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, but when you do the whole traditional, 3 inputs, and then you choose how to finish the combo, in general, it just kind of feels like you have to sort of hold not yeah you have to kind of hold the d-pad, whichever direction that you're holding, in anticipation before you even hit the 3 inputs, just because if you don't do that, the game is just not really going to register it, because I don't know, it's just part of the clunkiness that comes with Ultimate Ninja. It just, and to be fair, I was also playing the European version of this game, which runs at a lower frame rate, so there could be some degree of input delay that just gets worse as you input the attacks. And so yeah, there's just general a lot of clunkiness. And overall, I feel like the Ultimate Ninja games over time would sort of improve on the tech. For example, overall in terms of reversals, and also just the way you do a certain combo, especially in the air, and you can kind of like finish it off by landing at the opposite side, which is something that I know you can do with some characters in Ultimate Ninja 5. In general, I didn't really see a lot of that in Ultimate Ninja 1. Maybe some characters do have that. I didn't find it. So, But yeah, overall, this is definitely not the most exciting game to revisit. Now, Ultimate Ninja 2, I would probably put it at because to be honest with you, I kind of see these two games as the same. Like they're kind of the same. Ultimate Ninja 2 feels a little bit better to play, and it does also have just overall better visuals. There's some Ultimate Ninjas that just Ultimate Ninjas, Ultimate Jutsus that just overall look better. There are more characters, and the story mode is definitely better here because it. The thing is, it's really funny because like when you look back at the Ultimate Ninja games, Ultimate Ninja 2 probably did the best job at telling the story of part 1 in like it only adapted like half of, not even really half, it was really more of like the very end of the training exams, around the time you fight Neji, and then there was a whole invasion with Orochimaru and everything like that. And also it adapts the Tsunade rescue arc up until the very end, from beginning to end. And overall, this is the best Ultimate Ninja game that's adapted part 1 because it actually did tell a story. Now, obviously, this is not as complex as like what you get from something like Storm 3, but like, and obviously, this isn't even the best part 1 experience you can get. Obviously, you go with the Ubisoft games with Rise of a Ninja and Broken Bond. But overall, like, they did. Oh, also, they did also render an open world, even though it's, fixed camera angles and also has very limited areas. But, like, in general, it's definitely, like, overall, I have more fun playing this game. Um, there's also just, as far as, like, my memories, I think the characters just have generally more interesting awakenings. And so, yeah, I like it. I like this game. I'd put it at. I say C tier because I still don't necessarily think this is like amazing. Now, Ultimate Ninja 3. I think I'm gonna put this at A tier. Ultimate Ninja 3 is actually a pretty good game. Like, in general, I'm fairly certain that this was the first game that decided to go with actual 3D render. Now, in general, it does still have the manga art style, but they started to render a lot of the scenes in 3D, and you can even tell that with some of the cutscenes where some of the cutscenes that are somewhat recreated from the older games, and you can actually tell that it's like rendered in 3D, which is really cool. And I like the main story mode that I forgot the name, even though I've praised it like so many times. But the one where like there's this whole like contest with like everyone from the Leaf as well as other villages where they have to like accumulate a bunch of um a bunch of like ornaments, if I'm not mistaken. Not ornaments, there was these little diamonds, and over time you have to like fight a bunch of characters as well as do some mini games in order to accumulate the requirement. In general, when I describe it, it kind of feels like a grindy mode, but it's actually not. It's not really all that grindy. Like you can actually get through that pretty quickly, and there's a lot of really cool interactions. Just in general, I feel like this era of Ultimate Ninja was really fun to explore the world, just because there's just a lot of variety in the dialogue because of how they voice acted a lot of the characters, and just overall it just felt very fun. And also, this is they rendered Konoha a lot more like it was actually like a 3D world, unlike here where it was really just limited to a certain few areas. And here, like, it was actually like a 3D world, very small. Granted, it's a pretty small sandbox, but like in general, it felt very lively. And obviously, I would have preferred if the camera rotation wasn't inversed. That's something I still haven't gotten used to with certain Japanese games. But like, yeah, overall it's pretty fun. Obviously, this isn't the open world in Konoha here is not as good as Storm 1, but like overall it was pretty fun. And then there was the hero's history, and it's mostly just a very abridged retelling of a lot of the stories. And even though I've sort of critiqued the way they decided to go about telling the story, in the sense that I felt like they were just kind of like taking apart like fights throughout the story of part 1 and not really doing a lot to like adapt the dialogues and the story and the build up in between those things. In general, I would still say that a lot of the fights that you played that you do there, they do have some pretty nice soundtrack. A lot of it is soundtrack that like even up until the latest Storm game, it has like different renditions of them. And so the last fight between Naruto and Sasuke, where you fight with their awakening states, is pretty fun overall. So, even though it's definitely not like the best adaptation of part one by no means, and you know certainly not the best experience you could get out of part one overall, I appreciate for what it is. And in general, I also just felt like this game feels a bit smoother to. Well, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe I would still put this at B tier because I just remember something. Like, I don't know if this is like a hot take, but like, I know a lot of people have sort of been wanting the Ultimate Ninja games, the 2.5 Ultimate Ninja games, to be revived. And I think I'm in the minority of people that say that Storm isn't perfect, but I definitely would not want to go back to this era. This era of Ultimate Ninja games is not particularly. There's a lot of jankiness, just a lot of frustration that I experienced just with just the general like sort of chaotic party game nature of these games. That yeah, it's to me it may not be as fun to play a lot of these games as a lot of people may have, but like regardless, Ultimate Ninja 4 is A tier though. It just is. I'm sorry. Like the the main story mode where they adapt like some parts of like the Kazekage rescue arc, as well as like an original story where you explore an entire open world. There's random encounters and you can explore one from one village to another. The general you can I think you can even like boost your stats and just overall. There's also just a lot of like platforming appeal where there's certain parts where you have to jump from one spot to another, and you can sort of use his shadow clones in a creative way to like jump from one spot to another, and also just a lot of orbs that you collect over time, and a lot of those orbs are important in order for you to um, unlock scenes for hero mode, which hero mode is essentially just Hero's History from Ultimate Ninja 3, but just overall a little bit better because it does have some like just for starters, they do recreate a lot of scenes from Hero's History with with an art style that's a little bit closer to the anime. And I will say one thing: Ultimate Ninja 4's graphics are actually really fucking good. They're actually really good. Like CyberConnect 2, when they released this game, they kind of wanted to make it a bit closer to the art style of the anime, and I don't know what the fuck they did, but man, it just looks really gorgeous. Like this game looks really fucking gorgeous, and they did end up recreating a lot of scenes from Hero's History in hero mode, and a lot of them just look pretty breathtaking overall. I do really like the way this game looks, and the fact that again you are essentially playing the same mode again, but when you collect a lot of those orbs, they do actually allow some characters to sort of give the like summary of like a lot of the events that have been happening, as well as like some minor. I think vaguely remember there might be some like minor scenes that you play in between fights that you can also collect. And so overall, there's definitely a lot of incentive to play this game over time. And like yeah, I really like Ultimate Ninja 4. Now Ultimate Ninja 5, I know a lot of people uh see Ultimate Ninja 5 as like the best Ultimate Ninja game. I actually don't agree. I actually don't think Ultimate Ninja 5 is the best Ultimate Ninja game. And to be fair, I think it's only for one reason. It's the support system. Because this game introduced support where you can summon support characters, and I fucking hate it. I hate it so much. This is genuinely one of the things I hate about the Ultimate Ninja series in general. The fact that you can just summon support characters out of nowhere and interrupt your fucking combos. I hate it. I hate it so much. And yeah, this actually bogs down my experience quite a bit, not gonna lie. Like obviously there's a lot of stuff about Ultimate Ninja 5 that's improved over Ultimate Ninja 4. The fact that there are some jutsus and ultimate jutsus that are tag team where you unlock based on certain combinations of characters. um the story mode, there's some aspects that I felt were better, like the fact that you can run in teams, because I don't think you could do that in Ultimate Ninja 4. I'm fairly certain that whenever you navigate it throughout the area, you could only do it with one character. But in Ultimate Ninja 5, you can do it with more than one character. It's like you get like a group of three, which is really cool. And when you and also just the random encounters. One problem I did have with random encounters in Ultimate Ninja 4 is the fact that they kind of just showed up out of nowhere. You entered one area and then suddenly you would just see enemies just spawn out of nowhere. Like you didn't really get a chance to run away or anything like that. Meanwhile, in Ultimate Ninja 5, while enemies when they do spot you, they're very quick to approach you. At least you can kind of hold them back by attacking them, which might end up stunning them a little bit, and so it does make exploring a little bit less annoying overall if you don't want to fucking deal with beating enemies. I will say though that a lot of the enemy and random encounters just I don't know, like it just the fights feel very slow. Like it's just in general they feel very slowed down. I don't know if it's because there's too many enemies and NPCs at the same fighting at the same time. The game ends up slowing down a little bit. Maybe there might be some like CPU overhead that could be occurring, but I don't know. Like the fights just feel very slow, very sluggish. That's one thing that kind of bugs me a little bit about the random encounters in this game. But one thing I will say though is that these two games, there's a lot of side content that you can explore that I really like, and so yeah, one of the main reasons for why I lament how the Ultimate Ninja series has been watering down the open world is actually because of these two games. Because they actually elevated my standard for open world in these Ultimate Ninja games to a level that I'm just like, man, I really miss this era. I really do. And yeah, they did adapt the Kazekage Rescue arc as well as the Sasuke Retrieval arc. Well, wait, do they call it? Wait, Sasuke Retrieval arc is the one that happened in part one. The what I'm talking about is the God damn, I don't even remember. But the arc that came after the Kazekage Rescue, the one where you encounter Sasuke, and yeah, overall, I think it did a pretty good job adapting that both those arcs, as a matter of fact. But yeah, it's just I like the story mode. I would even say that I like the story mode here more than I do in 4. But the fucking support system annoys the shit out of me. Though then again, this game also has a lot of characters, like way more characters than this game does. So I will also give it credit for that. Because Ultimate Ninja 4, for the most part, just kind of felt like, in a lot of ways, kind of feels incomplete. Just because this game came out during an era where anime games had to be a lot more careful with what content they could include. Because even if they had enough material in the manga, if the anime wasn't caught up, they were very limited with the amount of content that they could release, and that's actually one of the things that affected this fucking game, which we'll get into in a moment. But Ultimate Ninja 4 in a lot of ways feels incomplete, but Ultimate Ninja 5 feels like a more complete version of Ultimate Ninja 4. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't recommend playing this game. I think you should play both. I think they're both pretty worthwhile. Now, Heroes. This game is fucking dog shit. Technically speaking, this game doesn't even really exist in Japan. This was a Western exclusive thing where the thing is, Heroes is essentially just Heroes 2, and Heroes 2 is essentially just Ultimate Ninja 2 for the most part. Not entirely, but this game Heroes is because Heroes 2 in Japan is called Naruto Made Portable, and Heroes was released because even though CyberConnect 2 and Bandai Namco wanted to release a portable version of Ultimate Ninja, because of the fact that the dub of the anime was it was quite a bit behind. There's a lot of content from this game, including the fucking story mode, that they had to cut out because they didn't want to spoil the Western people. So this game is fucking useless. There's no reason to play this game. It is so watered down, it's ridiculous. And also doesn't have the Japanese dub, which is insane, by the way. All of these games, they have the Japanese dub. Now, granted, Ultimate Ninja and Ultimate Ninja 2, they do have the Japanese dub, but only for the European version. If you buy the US version, I think they don't have, which is kind of insane. But like, yeah. Now, Heroes 2, my only thing with Heroes 2 is that it gets very repetitive. Like, the story mode is fine. Like, it's fine for what it is. It's essentially just you're exploring an entire dungeon, and my only thing with Heroes 2 is that it gets very repetitive because in general you just end up doing mini games after mini games and regular and battles until you get to the end of the dungeon. And also, when I say dungeon, I don't mean like you're actually exploring a dungeon. It's really more of a case of uh, it's really more of a case. I forgot the exact genre of games, but it's one where I'm actually trying to think of an example of what I'm talking about. I know this sounds kind of insane to say, but it's kind of like territory recovery mode from AOT, where actually, that's a good question. Maybe there might be a term for this. 1 second. So I'm gonna open a different tab because I'm trying to avoid opening tabs on my computer because sometimes I don't want to fucking leak certain tabs that I have saved or anything like that. But anyway, on well, I think actually no. Let's open let's open incognito. I think this might be a little bit safer. So incognito, and then let's go with Gemini. I don't know if Google lets you use Gemini without being signed in. Oh, it does. Okay. So AOT to territory recovery mode. What is the name of the genre of that kind of mode? All right, Gemini, what is it? So it's a strategy RPG management sim. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's basically, uh, incremental progression. You start with no, it's more of a strategy RPG where over time you like you go up because it's like an entire castle that you have to explore, and there's different floors, and over time you have to like climb up, and in order to do that you have to um you essentially just have to do like a lot of stuff. And it's not a game that has like an open world or anything like that. It really is just a very basic grid based map where you're just kind of going up, and again you have to do a lot of mini games, which by the way a lot of it is essentially just recycled from Ultimate Ninja 2. And so it's not like innovative or anything like that. It in a lot of ways Heroes 2 is essentially just an asset flip. And so it's not a very compelling game to play overall, but I would say that for a PSP game, it's it's okay. Now I'm gonna put it at C. I'm not gonna put it at B because like I don't think the game is that valuable. Like I like the story in general, but I wouldn't say this game is that valuable. Now Heroes 3, I'm gonna be honest, I did not fucking play this game. Now, I had a pretty good reason for why. Around the time I was playing these PSP games, I was emulating them, and for some reason, this game just used to crash on the PSP emulator. And at some point, I just realized, okay, I'm not gonna bother. It just never launched. The game just refused to launch, so I didn't really bother. Now, Ultimate Ninja Impact, I did play this game quite a bit. It is sort of, it is sort of like a Muso game where it's kind of in the vein of like Dynasty Warriors. In fact, I think the developers of Dynasty Warriors were involved in developing this. But yeah, it's like a Dynasty Warriors slash Gintama Rumble, fucking Persona 5 Strikers type game. It's fun. It's fun. I would actually put this at B tier because generally speaking, it's fine. Um, Unlike Heroes 3 and Heroes 1 and 2, where they're more in the vein of the 2.5D PS2 Ultimate Ninja games. Impact, it's a 3D game that I wouldn't say that it's like Storm. It's actually very different from Storm. But honestly, it's fun. You're just, you're beating up a bunch of fucking enemies all at once, and you have to go to the end of the map where you fight against the boss. It's fun. It's a fun game. Like, it's not too amazing, but like you can actually get a pretty swell time. Now, Storm 1 is like C tier. I don't particularly care too much for revisiting this game, for being honest. like it's nice. It's the first Storm game, and like there's a lot of aspects of, and I've shared I've shared a lot of my thoughts on Storm One in like my review. So I'm gonna try my best not to waste too much time, but like in general, there's some aspects of Storm that I think kind of repurposed some elements of Ultimate Ninja that I think were for the better. But in general, I this game is very fucking sluggish. The story mode is not fun at all. The open world exploration gets fun. At first it's interesting until it stops. It just it's a big Konoha. It's very big. Definitely the best open world in all of the Storm games. I wouldn't say it's better than Ultimate Ninja 4 and 5, if I'm being honest, because I think these two games, for starters, it doesn't just have Konoha, but it also, I think, in my opinion, has generally more interesting side content. And so like Storm has some mini games, like for the whole there's like hide and seek. There's the whole thing where um oh, the tree climbing challenge. And so there's definitely a lot of mini games to explore that are fun, but I don't know. I personally, I don't really care to revisit this game. It's just not for me. Storm 2 is A tier. The story mode is great, but the actual game isn't necessarily great. There's a lot of improvements from Storm 1. They did sort of revamp the system quite a bit. It did ended up abandoning a lot of like traces from Storm, like the Ultimate Ninja games in general, like the whole thing where you have to like mash a lot of buttons during the Ultimate Ninja. Just in general, the support system changed quite a bit. Where in this game, you can just in general, there's some stuff that used to be a thing in Storm that are no longer a thing in Storm 2, like the whole with certain auto combos where you can finish them off by inputting L1 or R1 to like for the support character to like finish the attack. That was removed, but they also did introduce some things like, for example, I'm fairly certain that this was was it this game or was it Generations, the one where over time your support gauge, the more it increases, the more things your support characters do during the battle. Was that in Storm 2 or was in Generation? I could be wrong there, actually. I'm not entirely sure. But like, yeah, overall, there were definitely some revamps. The game overall feels more responsive than Storm. But despite all of that, I do think this game still has a pretty rigid substitution system, and I don't know. It's just it's pretty early Storm days, but the story mode is, I think, is pretty great. I do think that there's some aspects of the story mode that got improved over time, but like this is definitely a very memorable. This game definitely has a pretty memorable story mode. Now, Storm Generations, I would put this at B tier, just because the fact that the game allows you to cancel your combos by chakra dashing, the fact that you can move away, like for example, when you click triangle and X, it's not just for approaching the characters. You can also do that to walk back, which I think is pretty cool. They also reinvent the substitution system where instead of costing your chakra meter, instead has its own separate bar, and it gives you like 4 different substitutions, which give the game an opportunity for people to manage their substitutions a bit more creatively. And so, yeah, Generations had a lot of like combat revamps that I think contributed to a lot of what we understand about Storm today. And so I really do appreciate about that. Now the story mode, it's very similar to Ultimate Ninja, where it's just fragmented stories with each characters. I will say that I do appreciate the fact that this game does have some anime cutscenes, but like that alone isn't enough for me to play this game. I'll watch the cutscenes on YouTube. I don't care. Storm 3 is S tier. Storm 3 is fucking S tier because the story mode is goaded. Storm 3 legitimately has the best story mode in all the Storm games. I'm gonna be fucking honest with you. Just I don't know, man. There's a lot about Storm 3 that I really like, man. Like again, I've shared a lot of my thoughts on the Storm games on like my reviews, so I'm not gonna regurgitate a lot of it, but like I really do love Storm 3. There's like I actually ended up replaying a lot of these games last year, so my memories of this game is still fairly fresh, and I do ended up remembering a lot of what I really appreciated about this game. Just the final battle between Naruto and Toby, like just everything, man. Like it's a great game, and you know I did also. There's a lot of like quality of life improvements that Storm 3 offered to the story mode. For example, when you're playing a lot of the story missions, they do have dialogue that plays during the fights. As I mean, because the thing is, in general, it is still equivalent to playing against CPU, but the fact that they do add dialogue at least kind of makes those fights not feel as generic. So I do like that, and yeah, overall, and also just the fact that the game introduced mob battles, the fact that man, the fucking mob battles in this game. I'm just remembering how you had to control Darui and like fight against what's his name, the fucking immortal dude, uh the fucking the guy who used to hang out with Hidan, Kakuzu. The fact that you were fighting Kakuzu every once in a while, then later you fought against like Kinkaku and Ginkaku, it's like, damn, this fucking game. Oh man, yeah, I love this game. Storm Revolution, uh, where I put Storm Revolution. The thing is, there's some things about this game that people really hate, like the counter system. My opinions on the counter system of this game might not be as negative as other people's, but I definitely would prefer if the game didn't have it. To me, the thing that really, I think the aspect of this game that probably rubbed me the wrong way the most is just the fact that they split Ultimate Jutsu with Awakening and Drive type. That to me probably did a bigger negative impact than the counters. But yeah. And then there was like the whole Mecha Naruto storyline, which was kind of meh. It was mid, to be honest. Yeah, it was whatever. I don't know I don't know how to feel about this game because um there's like the game is not particularly difficult to revisit necessarily, but I don't care a lot about this game, to be honest. There was that story mode where you like the whole Akatsuki like there's the whole story mode where you were just recruiting the Akatsuki members, and then there was the whole story with Shisui, and so I think there is some value to be offered with this game. And like Mecha Naruto, even though I was shitting on it just for a few moments, it does have some cool sort of character moments, and there is that battle royale mode. Wait, is it battle royale? You know, you know the one I'm talking about. The one where you're fighting against more than one ninja all at once. I'm fairly certain battle royale is the right term to be using. Um, that mode was interesting. You know what? Yeah, because I was thinking maybe this game belonged here, but the more I think about it, the more I realize, okay, I might not have super fond of memories of this game. Like, I mean, actually, no. I think in general, my memories are actually, I think they're closer to positive. I just don't care for this game all that much. Now, Storm 4 is S tier, obviously. Again, already made a fucking video. I don't want to regurgitate a lot of it. Just um, the only thing about Storm 4 that might make me consider putting this at 8 is just the fact that there was clearly a lot that went wrong during the production of the story mode, where they had to rely on um like I hesitate to say anime cutscenes because like they weren't really animated. They were just still images that had like some minor movements, like fucking just Windows Movie Maker movements, all right. Like, and some like effects. And so that's the one part of the game that made me go, okay, I don't know if I should I don't know if I should regard this game that highly when it has stuff like that. And a lot of the cutscenes during the story mode were also very clearly half baked. They felt like alpha footage where it really did feel like it really did feel like this game wasn't actually finished when it came out. But despite that, I still had an extremely positive experience playing this game. Like even the story mode with all of the issues with the cutscenes, like my experience with that game was extremely positive, and so I still put this on the same tier as like Storm 3 in general. Now, as for Storm Connections, uh, not a lot of characters introduced. Um, the main story mode where they just took boss battles from the other games and just call it a day. Meanwhile, they watered down the quick time events. Uh, and then they have the board to story mode that completely removed the whole open world. And there were a lot of scenes that just felt very awkward because it was pretty obvious that there were scenes that were animated in conjunction with the open world exploration. And then there's the fact that the game came out like what 7 years after Storm 4, and yet fundamentally it was pretty much the same game. It was just a mod pack for Storm 4 in general. Yeah, I'm not gonna regard this game that highly. I will say one thing though, even though I'm probably in the minority of people that say this, but I do think that in general a lot of the mechanic changes were for the better. I will still defend that. I do still think that a lot of the stuff that they were aiming to change were stuff that I personally also would have wanted to change from the Storm games. Though I would also say that it wasn't enough. Like for example, giving combo freedom is cool, but at the same time, if you can still interrupt combos with substitutions and summoning supports, which I fucking hate summoning supports by the way, but if you can still do that, then like, is there really that much use in giving more combo freedom? I don't know. So yeah, Storm Connections. Actually, you know what? The more I think about it, I think this game is just more of a D tier because like it really, like I don't know. Like the thing is, I don't, because I don't actually hate playing the game. I actually don't hate playing the game in general. Actually, I prefer playing this game over Storm 4 actually. But at the same time, it just has so much lacking content. So is it really fair to put this at D tier? Because this is a game that I just would not play. I don't feel any excitement to revisit this game. But Storm Connections is like if someone were to come to my house and like we were playing Storm, is like this would be the first game to pick for playing. So yeah, fine. I'll put this at C tier, but like very generously. And yeah, that's my fucking Ultimate Ninja tier list. I'll save it, I guess, after I record this video. But yeah, those are my opinions on the Ultimate Ninja games, which I'm sure you may have already heard in the past. But anyway, that's all. Goodbye.